Welcome to Talk Around Riyadh, the Wheel of Time showcast. I am your host, Joe Perry, here with my co-host, Jen Isgro, Tom Kokoza, and our very special guest co-host, Brendan Johnston. How you doing, Jen?
I'm okay, I guess. Hair issues aside, it's an early Thursday recording for us. I get to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with my family tomorrow. I appreciate you guys all moving the recording for me.
Well, it is a holy day of obligation. No, it isn't. I don't know. Tom, how you
No,
doing?
it's not.
I'm exhausted. I was up until 2 last night and then woke up a little before in the 6 o'clock hour this morning. I didn't get enough sleep. But whatever. I'm excited to do the show as always. I'm sure it's gonna be great. And I brought some caffeine, so that'll help me power through.
All right. Brendan. Hopefully
Hey,
you're doing okay. It seems like Tom and Jen aren't having a good week or a good day at least.
I'm kind of tired myself, but as I was telling you earlier, I spent all week at work, but pretty much doing like team building activities and lunches and dinners with my coworkers, which we do every quarter as a condition of being allowed to continue working from home full time. So, yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
All right. Thanks, Brendan.
Anybody out there looking for looking for a career, go into insurance, where you'll be miserable for 10 years and then it'll pick up.
If you can just get through those first 10 years.
Push through.
This reminds me of Brendan when you were telling us about how Devin was trying to get you to watch Supernatural, and he's like, once you get to the 5th season, something like that.
I was just telling that story to one of my coworkers this week. In fact.
Team building, huh?
Yeah.
We're going to do a little team building today. As Jen mentioned, it's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Well, by the time this comes out, it'll have passed. March Madness has also started today. And we're going to be talking about
broken.
madness. The world's already going to be broken soon. And we're going to be talking about madness a little bit later in this episode when we talk about episode 4 of The Wheel of Time. But before we get to that, Jen, I know you had something you wanted to talk about. You found something miraculous.
I did. So I will talk about it now. It's kind of a what's happening. So Alexandra Viome posted on Instagram along with a photo of himself as Tom, looking somber. I'm missing this guy. Hope to meet up with him soon. Sunglasses emoji. It was way too short last time. Hysterical laughing emoji. Then a couple of hashtags, Tom Maryland at the Wheel of Time. So, and then below that, Rafe Judkins posted soon with like the thankful prayer hands emoji, the praise emoji. Is that what that is? Like
these or the these?
No, not these, but like
these. That's like, yeah, that's
like thank God kind of praise God. Yeah. Okay.
Praise
and then praise be, yes. And then he wrote back soon is good with a muscle emoji. So official, we knew, but he's coming back for season 3.
I didn't know.
Oh, he's coming back.
Spoiler alert. We probably should have.
Spoiler alert.
We probably
he made
should.
it.
God.
Wait,
he made it, and he's coming back for season 3.
Wait a second. Let's redo this. Let's restart because we put spoilers right up front.
That's not a. I mean, it's not a spoiler.
It is a spoiler.
He looks like he does not make it out of season 1.
But he does. I don't think that's a spoiler.
Here's the thing. The fact that
you don't know if he made it or not.
It's
so
the literal
he made
definition of a spoiler.
it's not like he was dead, like you saw him die, and then he
true.
didn't
You don't
die.
see him die.
You don't know what happened, so he's alive.
two things. Jen's right. You don't see him die, and in any sort of genre fiction like this, if you don't see the body,
yes,
they're still alive.
That's
second.
What I was gonna say.
It is not necessarily a spoiler regarding the fate of the character that the actor is coming back. They've done flashbacks on this show before.
Tom Maryland's evil twin brother,
No,
John Maryland,
Like
Mom,
like in Beer Fest.
Mom.
it's Tomb Maryland. It's 2 O's because he's a clone.
There you go.
So those
Tom with no H.
it's for all you senior millennial nerds out there.
Well, I
The
think
double battle in the clone man.
A deep cut, my friend. A deep
I
cut.
think this, confirms, and I know people were still doubting and thinking that he was in season 2, but I think this kind of nails
I think if you
the
read
nail
the
in the coffin on
emojis
this one.
correctly on a previous post, you would have known that he was not in season 2.
If you read
Can I
the
just-
emojis,
It's like
correctly.
reading tea leaves.
It's like you have Min's viewing ability.
Yes.
You can read emojis.
You can read the bones. You're reading the bones.
The bones tell me nothing.
Thing.
Who's that from?
Willow.
The High Aldwin.
Oh,
Look at the
Willow.
bones. Follow
Speaking of
follow
Willow,
Jared.
Speaking
Speaking of Willow, guys,
canceled.
Willow is canceled.
And
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Actually, on
Summer,
today's
you
show.
could have been Ingtar.
Well, don't say anything because that is a spoiler. But
That's all I
we
was
can
going to
talk about-
say. You
we can
could have
talk
been
about that
Ingtar.
later.
That's
We
all
can
I'm
talk about
gonna say
something.
about that.
Something.
I was going to
later.
ask you, do you guys think now that show is canceled that he regrets it?
No,
No,
not one bit.
and that's something we can talk about later too.
Okay.
Okay.
He was, and this might be faint praise, but he was easily the best part of that
Yeah,
show.
Yes.
I think he.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like
Yeah.
he loved being on it
Yeah.
too. So,
Yeah.
sure, he doesn't regret it.
Welcome back to another edition of Where's What Origins, where we talk about the
Speaking
missing
of-
2 episodes of What Origins.
Speaking of best parts of the show, great
Brendan.
segue.
Brendan,
Yeah,
do you have any news on What Origins or any changed feelings on it?
no to both.
All right. Jen, what's going on? Have you heard anything through your Eyes and Ears network?
No, the eyes and ears have gone silent for many, many months since about August. They've been absolutely dead silent on the fate of What Origins.
Okay.
Are the eyes and ears often loud? So that's
Oh.
usually what the mouth does.
Shut up.
All right, let's set a bar here. Tom, over under, What Origins comes out prior to May 31st. Or May 31st is the bar, over or under May 31st.
I am going to take the under on that.
All right. Ooh. Oh, I like the positivity. How about you, Jen?
Yeah.
No, over.
Over. Now, are either of you making this decision based on any knowledge or information, insider information?
Absolutely not.
No insider information. I would say I have an educated guess. That's what I would say.
Okay. And Brendan, if you cared, would you take the over or the under?
I'm taking the over, and I do care in the sense that I hope it never comes out, so that you guys have to play this song every week forever.
Would we be able to keep it up? Let's just pretend that happened. Like it just never came out. Would we just do this every week?
Yeah.
Or would we?
I think we do it till season 3. I think we could do it until season 3 premieres.
Okay.
I think we could get through the entirety of season 2 and it not showing up, and still keep the gag going about the fact that it's going to be out any day now.
They have to release it. It's made. Why wouldn't they release it?
What if
Plenty
they?
of stuff gets made and never released.
So
There's a whole ass Batgirl movie.
I know,
that's done.
Batgirl.
Yeah, HBO. What would we do in the scenario that season 2 comes out and the season 2 What Origins are released, but these 2 holdover episodes from season 1 are not released?
So we're specifically looking for those 2 lost episodes, not What Origins in general, just those 2 episodes.
I don't know. I mean, it was originally for those 2 episodes because that's what they were supposed to be releasing in August. But if we get What Origins, just not those 2 episodes, do we continue?
I think if we get the second season and those haven't come out, like they might not come out.
All right. Let's get into our main topic. We are continuing our rewatch of season 1 of The Wheel of Time, and we are up to episode 104, The Dragon Reborn, directed by Wayne Yip, written by Dave Hill. Now, this episode is the highest rated episode on IMDb. Did y'all know that?
Is it really?
It is.
Is that by non-book readers?
It's just by anybody who wants to rate it on IMDb. I didn't
Okay.
I didn't look through to see.
Did you read each one to see if they were book readers?
No, I think we had read some of these reviews,
yeah.
I think, a while back. I mean, I'm sure there's new ones and real interesting ones. I will probably have to go do that again for season 2, at least. If not, just go back into it for season 1, just because we might not have anything else to talk about. But anyway, let's get into the episode. We've got a cold open here. We're in a new place called Geldon. And we meet a new character.
Off-center Gildan.
Yeah. Yeah, we get some insight into Logain, who this Logain character is. I will say that I think we mentioned this in the past, but he looked kind of like he had a very big Jesus thing going on, or a Jesus vibe going on, at least in that scene. And he kind of reminded me of Dr. Octopus when, all the flows of the power are coming out of him. So I wrote, Logain looks like Jesus Dr. Octopus. That's my note for this scene.
Okay. Do you think that Logain kills those first 2 soldiers that throw, like the one that throws a spear at him?
So I'll see that and I'll raise you right in that shot of the overhead. You see like a bunch of people running into the castle. I don't know if those are Logain's people or not, but the camera pans over. All those people run into the castle, and it's continuing to pan over. And then when it gets to the other side, you just see the king walk out. So is that to say that like all those people ran in there and he's the only one who made it out alive?
Yes. Or on his feet. I don't say alive. I want to say he's the only one who made it out on his feet.
You mean the king or Logain?
The king.
Okay.
Well, there were other soldiers that came out.
No, he's the only one that comes out. And then Logain walks out and they have that scene together.
After Logain maybe he kills the guards. They cut to, like Joe said, an overhead shot, and there's a bunch of people running, and they run into a structure, and the king is the only one who comes out. And I don't know. Are those? I found myself wondering about that this time as well. Like, were those other people just not real? Is it another like Logain hallucination thing?
I don't know if they were the Geldonans, if they were Logain's army, or
I think those are the king's guard.
Okay.
I think basically what happens is this is the last of his guard. They run. He goes, "You stay here and hold them off. I will continue to run," and they fail in that.
Okay,
that makes sense. The thing is, like the way it's cut, the way it's shot or the way it's cut implies that no time passes.
Yes. Right. That's the other thing I wasn't sure of. Like when they get over the structure, are we to assume that like some time passes and then eventually the king comes out? That was the other thing I was trying to figure out.
That's kind of the only thing that makes sense, but it definitely doesn't seem that way when you're first watching.
Yeah. I didn't never notice that before. Like I was like, oh, wait a second, what's going on here?
There's when Logain confronts the king, he talks about how the exact thing he says is the last dragon broke the world, and he says this right after he heals him. He heals his wound or whatever. He says the last dragon broke the world. I plan to bind it, and I didn't notice this the first couple of times we watched it, but bind is a very open to interpretation choice of words. I think.
Yeah. I think you're supposed to feel that way. Like it's not supposed to be clear one way or the other if he means good or bad.
But I thought that was really, I thought that was really clever and like good writesmanship on whoever did that one.
It's almost like he's going to the opposite extreme of breaking the world, right? He's like, I'm not going to make sure it's okay. I'm going to take it all the way 180 from breaking.
Yeah, it begs the question: to what or to whom will you bind?
I would assume he means himself,
right? Which is not something that is so
Right, but
great necessarily.
But he could also
Together
he
is
could also
great.
mean he could also mean bind as in heal, as in like bring together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
There's it could be anything. And I'll say this, I think we said this on the earlier thing. This is my second favorite cold open of the series.
Yeah.
I think this is
It's a good one.
It is, and I think it does a very good job of subverting expectations that you immediately have, and of giving this character who really, he's in a few, he's in a few episodes this season, but this is his showcase episode of really giving you insight into who he is, like what in general he wants, and like one, how crazy he is, and two, how he's dealing with that in probably as healthy a way as he possibly can, being crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
This is the.
I just think it's terrific.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just going to say this is the second time we get some madness and insight inside into the madness.
Right.
The
And
corruption.
he, like, you find out later, he may not be like, you see in the opening right here, that he ignores these murderous urges. Later on, he tells you his interpretation of what that is, which maybe that's true. Who knows? But I just think it's a very I think this checks a lot of boxes in regards to what a scene like this can do, and it also happens to have like the second best channeling in the series. I want to say like the second best like combat channeling in the series.
This scene right
outside
here.
of Winter Night. What?
This scene or the episode?
This scene I think is
Okay.
is
Really?
I think his channeling, seeing the taint, seeing like what somebody like fully unleashed can do with like, in the beginning, it's not as good as Winter Night, that whole set piece, obviously. But yeah, I think it's just really cool.
Logain the Benevolent.
Ish.
Yeah. Well, he heals them, and he said, he says, "This place at my side, even for my enemies." Very inspirational speech he gave there.
That's a Jesus line.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, very much so.
Jesus, Dr. Octopus. For sure.
Okay, sure, yeah.
That's what Jesus puts.
All right. As we move into the episode, we go to
Dr. Octochrist. Sorry.
we go to the
All right,
camp.
guys, let's get it out.
We go to the camp with the Aes Sedai.
Before-
Moraine gets
Okay.
healed by a new Aes Sedai that we meet, Karenna. I feel like this is the one piece of, I feel, lazy dialogue in the episode where, like, she says, "You shouldn't be so tired from just healing me." Like, it was just like clearly like an exposition line for the audience, like not something the character or would normally be said out loud.
Yeah, she doesn't actually say the words, as you know, but
Yeah.
that's what the line is. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. It was a little, they should have rewrote that line or come up with some other way to show that she's tired from holding Logain's shield, even though they mention it probably about 3 or 4 other times in the episode. So
He's very powerful, Joe. I don't know if you knew that.
yeah. So this is my one of my main problems with this episode is I'm sorry, I'm being a book nerd about it, but the whole mechanics and rules for shielding in the show are totally, bogus at this point, and it really bothers me when every time I see them channeling a shield or they're talking about a shield. I'm like, you literally went totally opposite, and it bothers me, and I'm not gonna not be bothered by it.
I want to talk about the shield later more at the end, but
We could talk about it.
talk about the end.
before we get too deep into anything, once again, this episode is very clearly broken into 3 separate stories. And are we going to be going in scene order, or are we going to like opt out?
We can go. Do you want to take it from least interesting to most interesting?
How will we ever agree on which one is the least interesting, Joe?
Okay, so
He said sarcastically.
Perrin and Egwene. Here we go. This was better though than the last. I'm sorry. This was much better though than the last episode. There.
It
It was
was.
better than the last episode.
And
It's not a.
It's like, don't put much.
Yeah. Do you see?
It's not
Brendan
strong.
Brendan suggested this so we would end this episode with cave talk.
Well, we're not talking about. I'm not going to go on about the cave. In this
What?
episode.
I want to talk about the cave. Actually,
I think this is significantly better. The Perrin and Egwene scenes than the previous episode, and unfortunately, it's not because of Perrin and Egwene. It's because of Maria Dole Kennedy.
Yes,
and even Darren McCormick to some extent.
They're not bad in it. It's just not as good as the other ones.
Yeah, it's not as interesting of a storyline.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they right there with the Tinkers. You learn a little bit more about the Tinkers and the way of the leaf and how they do no violence. There's one line in here that I didn't make any connections with earlier on that I wanted to bring up. So Aram says the Tinkers that the Tinkers don't usually pass that way. Do you think that was some Taviran-ness happening there?
did they say something maybe in this episode, or it might have been in the last episode, about how they were going out of their way because of stuff going on in the South,
Yeah.
which I think was the
Soldiers.
situation in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they mentioned
Off-center
soldiers.
Gildan.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just what I just took it to be, that like they're going out of their way because of stuff going on in the other interesting parts of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost as if it was all, manufactured.
Almost like it's all taking place in the same world and it's scripted.
Yeah, I
It
think
sounds almost scripted. No, it does sound. It could be. I'm not. So I guess I don't want to go into details of, or have a whole conversation about Taviran, but
Yes, you do.
no. Well,
You
we
bring
spend
it
the
up
whole-
every week.
We can spend a whole episode about that. No, just because it wasn't like, oh, they just decided that day, to go that way because they just felt it was right. That's not Taviran-ness. Taviran-ness is, pulling and tugging things, pushing things to go in a certain way. Tom just wants to say something.
You're pulling in the tugging. I don't.
Pushing
That's
and
not
the pulling and the
Taviran-ness.
tugging.
That's paying extra. Anyway, so I do think you can say like there was random chance, right? That may have been pattern influenced random chance to send them off their way.
Yeah.
But
That's all I'm saying.
they didn't get sent. They didn't get sent in a way to intersect with Perrin and Egwene were going. Perrin and Egwene were herded to intersect their path.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
I don't know if it's Taviran-ness.
But the if it wasn't for Taviran, maybe the Tinkers wouldn't be there.
Yeah, but the Tinkers.
The chicken and the egg.
It is the
It's like-
chicken and egg thing.
To me,
Take
it
her
would
the
be like.
Taviran.
To me, it would be Taviran-ness would be like if Perrin and Egwene were like, we have to run to the north, and that's where they were going. But Perrin and Egwene were like, we've got to run to the east. Oh shit, wolves are chasing us north. I'm just picking directions. I don't know where everyone is, right? Oh, there's some people here. So I feel like there was also direct like wolf intention to have these creatures intersect that wasn't just random chance.
Did you say wolf intention or wolfen tension? I wasn't sure.
Yes.
No, intention
Okay.
of the wolves was to
Tension of the wolves.
make
sounds like a
sure
metal
that these
band.
two groups of people met.
Like a power metal
It
band.
does.
That's my
So before I forget, I'm going
Write
to
it
forget
down.
this for next episode. But when the White Cloaks, we meet the White Cloaks in the second episode, right? They split up, right? Bornhold and Valda. What does Valda say? He's going to go south, right? Because Bornhold's going to go west towards. He's going to go west towards the two rivers, and Valda says, "Oh no, we're going somewhere else." Does he say they're going south?
I don't remember.
Because then I would say, what are the White Cloaks then doing all the way up where they wind
By
up intersecting?
Tarvalon?
Well, no, by Perrin and Egwene.
Right, but that's like on the way to Tarvalon.
Yeah.
Don't they see Tarvalon when they get captured?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
remember.
walking outside the city and they see it. And then
Oh, it's a month later. Yeah.
remember they're like walking and they're like, oh, it's like right here. They see
That's
the
after
tower.
that's after they
No,
get away.
it's not.
It isn't?
After they get away, you just see them in Tarvalon.
No, I don't remember seeing
It's
it.
right
Well,
before the White Cloaks come up to the Tinkers.
okay, so I guess anyway, yeah, I thought Valdez said they were going south. It has nothing to do with this episode, but I thought Valdez said in episode 2 that he was going south. So how did he end up all the way northeast? Anyway, what were we talking about again? Oh, Taviran, then the Tinkers. Yeah.
To Joe's point about how it's much better than this part of the show last week, but unfortunately it's not better because of anything Perrin and Egwene do. You're right. I mean, the two Tinkers that they talk to have these sort of monologues, I guess, about I forget, I don't remember these characters' names.
Aram and Ela.
Aram, sure. Ela tells her story about what the Way of the Leaf is and how they view the world, and Aram talks about fantasy Rumspringa that they go on, and that's all very good world building. But this is sort of a joke and sort of not. Like, one of the things I always think when I hear somebody tell me, like, oh, the world building in this show is so good, or oh, the world buildings in these books are so good, is like, that means nothing happens. That means nothing happens in the story at all. But it's still entertaining, which is fine. But
this is like important information for later, though.
I get that.
But it's hard to it's just not done in an exciting way.
Yeah, I get that it's important information, but you know what else is important information? The opening crawl in Star Wars. And that's how they deliver it. And they just tell us, and then they get to the good stuff. And I 100% believe that this scene, if it actually happens in the books, like this whole sequence of Egwene with these wandering folks, is better than it is in the show, because it's something that probably works better as prose, as literature, than as something in a visual medium that's just like people sitting around talking about how they think about the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering. He says the Tinker Rumspringer. He says at 20, so I'm assuming he's not yet 20 because he doesn't mention about him going on it. And I think from his dialogue, like if he did go, he probably wouldn't come back.
He is 100% trying to get Egwene to invite him along. So he didn't go yet. He's about to, or he's like of the age where he could, and he's trying to. I was about to say hook up, but that has implications that I wasn't intending. But he's trying to get out of there with them eventually, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else anyone wanted to comment on this storyline?
I have literally no notes about this entire story.
I had the one note. That was it. All right. Let's move over to plotline 2. We've got Matt, Rand, and Tom escaping from Breen Spring. They come upon a farm, and they're gonna try to sneak in the barn to sleep there at night, but the family catches them. Blah 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 blah. This is Taviran when Rand talks and convinces them to let them sleep there. That's Taviran.
How, like, the horse senses the evil in Matt?
Yeah, animals are very sensitive to evil creatures.
But why and how come humans aren't?
It's the nose, I think. I don't think we have the nose for it.
He smells the evil?
Yeah, it can smell bad.
I thought maybe like a story, like a rumor got out about the horse that got eaten by Mashadar. It was like
the horse internet?
His cousin's friend, like the horse rumor mill. And he was like, this guy's got that same shit. I'm out of here.
The horse net?
Yeah. Horse news. Hashtag horse news.
Hashtag horse news. Yeah, so they stay there. We get this. All right, so first we get Matt meeting the little girl, who, by the way, it still says in the captions, else
It
Even
does.
though, yeah, it said I was just watching it on Prime and it says else. So Prime
love that
fix
she's-
that.
Like, I can't tell you my name. And in my head, like, I can't tell you. They changed it and they're giving my name to somebody else.
But it's still in the closed captioning as else. So get on that Amazon, fix that.
It's short for someone else.
Yeah.
It's a different character.
And now watching this the second time over, I'm just like, don't give him the protection doll. Don't give him the doll. It's like,
How annoying is it that she gives him the doll to like see the world with him, and then he doesn't even take it when he goes?
Yeah, that's the heartbreaking part of this segment.
Ugh.
he
Like,
left
at
it
least-
alone.
doll.
At least take the doll.
Well, I don't think Matt.
What
was
is
really-
what?
I
What?
don't think Matt was really.
Oh, you being sarcastic? I thought you were being. I thought you were being
That's
for
the
real.
sad part is the doll, not the slaughtered
No, but
family.
it's like it's sad that they get killed. Of course, that's the sad part. But then it's like a nail in your heart afterwards. Like, just like now, and you couldn't even take the doll with you. So at least she would know in death that her doll was seeing the world.
I think
let me
he's
ask
got-
you this: Do
he's
you
got-
feel like you want Matt in later episodes this season, the two or he's in, or in future seasons to have to explain to people he meets why he carries a child's doll with him? Like it
No.
just doesn't make any sense. Or like, hey,
That's a
whatever happened to
change,
you don't want people asking about it. It's better to be like, you should have never given him the doll, man.
Also, like Jen, I get what you're saying about how it's like it just sucks that he didn't bring the doll, and like he's so like because Matt loves his sister so much, and he's immediately drawn to this little girl, and he's nice to this little girl, and she's drawn to him because of because of who he is and how he is and everything. And then she gets murdered by a monster, and he runs away and leaves the doll, and they close that segment on the shot of the doll, and that's upsetting. It's supposed to be upsetting.
I know. It's just like,
Okay.
I know.
because you're okay, fine. Because it kind of sounded like you were saying it like you thought it was a mistake. Like
no,
okay.
it's just like extra sad.
it is pretty.
in that
sad.
case, I agree.
I
with
hate
you.
it in the way that it makes me feel sad, not like it was
You
a
hate
bad
it-
decision by the
You hate it
writers.
the way you're supposed to hate
Yes.
it, is what you're
Yes.
saying. Okay, fine. In that case, I agree with you.
Okay.
So, on the rewatch, something that I looked at a little differently too is when Tom tells the story about his nephew Owen. If I was kind of focusing on Rand and his reactions to it, and I'm totally getting like, he's like getting scared because he's like,
Yeah.
this is going to happen to me. More so than I think he's concerned about Matt. But then like later on, I'm a little confused because when they're sleeping and he looks like he's about to spoon Matt, he seems like he's genuinely concerned that Matt could possibly be able to channel.
Well, I think that he's still like he doesn't know that he can channel. I think he's still just like
He
kind
did
of
already.
hoping. Yeah, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
I think he's hoping that it's not him.
Yeah.
Like he's still trying to find excuses. So, just because I wasn't born there doesn't mean it's definitely me. So
Yeah.
now, like, okay, maybe it's Matt. Good.
Yeah, you
Not
can see
good,
it on
but
his
you know what I
face
mean.
though
Yeah.
when Tom's telling the story.
Yeah.
He's
Oh, there's
definitely
something
thinking,
going on with Matt, no matter what.
yes.
Also, like we know pretty much for certain that there are men who can channel who aren't the Dragon
Mm.
Reborn. So it's possible that Rand is thinking, well, maybe I'm the Dragon Reborn. Maybe I'm not the Dragon Reborn, but I've still got some weird shit going on.
Yeah.
On top of which, maybe Matt is. In which case, this situation that started out bad is just getting continually worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that, he's accurate. Like,
Oh yeah,
no
Well, that's- I
matter
mean-
what.
situation never improves.
One line that I
know,
thought was oh, sorry, Tom.
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Oh no, I was just gonna mention the line that Tom says where he says they call us Gleeman.
Yeah.
To like because it's like a silly name and people won't be like scared of us almost. He's giving that vibe. It's to me it sounds like he's part of some sort of secret order of Gleeman assassins or something. Like
I wrote that down too. Like, is every Gleeman like Tom's? Some people just aren't regular Gleeman.
like
Regular
yeah, is it like some
Gleeman?
sort of secret order of Gleeman
Yeah.
that gets together and they train and they control the world and pull the strings.
Yeah.
They're like the stonecutters. Oh,
The
that's much
Illuminati.
better. I wish I hadn't said my stonecutters thing.
What did you say,
Well
Tom? I'm
done,
sorry.
Tom.
The
Take it again.
Gleeminati.
Take it again.
Gleeminati.
I think that's I not knowing what a gleeman is, from my perspective, except Tom, the coolest, best character in the show. Yeah, that's what he means. He is part of a secret band of a secret, cabal of traveling guitar playing assassins, like L from Desperado.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's. I'm sure. I'm beyond certain that's not what it is in the books, but that's what it is in the show. At least so far.
You don't know, Brendan. There is definitely more to Tom than meets the eye. That's for sure.
Really?
He's a transformer?
It's even
Yes.
more than meets the eye, Brendan.
More than meets the
Oh.
We come back to them. I think the next part we come back is Rand is having his dream.
I always forget about the stream.
I do too,
It's
but
so short. It's such a short sequence.
Every time it comes out, I'm like, oh yeah, there's another dream.
All right, the dream.
this is one of those leaked set photos from really early on.
I
Remember,
feel like
with Matt
Yep.
with the hands.
we spent a lot of time trying to figure out
Yeah, when that was.
Yeah, and we were
what was happening here.
we almost have to go back to the episode and see if we came anywhere close.
Well,
I'm sure
Joe,
one
I
of us
believe
said a dream.
every single set photo we got from season 1, you posited this was a dream sequence. So
I
think
you're
that's
right.
I think you're correct. But there
In
was
this
that,
case, you were right.
there was that other leg in the picture. Remember in the background we spotted there was a leg, and that's Perrin's
Yeah.
leg. Look at that.
Yes, it was.
I was noticing that today, rewatching it. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it is a really short dream. What is Perrin doing? He's just bashing a bunch of dead
Like
bodies with a sledgehammer.
It's Layla, isn't it?
It was a bunch of bodies, wasn't it?
Oh, I think they
'Cause it was
don't they
Pyle.
zoom in on like her earrings or something, or her ring. They zoomed in on something that made me.
She might have been on the top of the
identify
pile,
her,
I guess,
maybe.
right? But I remember it being like piled up,
All right.
and he was just sledgehammering them. I'm not sure. Or was that an axe?
Yeah,
Was he
just
using an axe?
blacksmithing them.
Okay, he was forging
Doing
them.
his blacksmith work.
He's forging their bones into.
Yes. Just being gross and hitting them with a hammer.
So are all these symbols of some things that are either going to happen in the rest of the season or maybe later on? Did you guys get that? I was trying to, as I was watching it, I was like, they go to each character. I wonder if they're trying to foreshadow something with right? Matt walks out with the bloody hands. Perrin's smashing people with a sledgehammer, I guess. I don't know.
Well, okay, so both of those are actions which neither of those characters take in the remainder of the series.
That's true.
So this is just like, I guess when they wrote this scene, they were just like, let's just put some weird shit in it. That means.
Well, I mean, Perrin is covered in blood, which is, he sort of metaphorically is
Mm-hmm.
in the show. So
is Matt. Matt has
maybe
blood on his hands too.
Yes, and to the best of our knowledge, Matt hasn't hurt anybody.
No.
So.
And then Rand sees
But he's
Egwene,
gonna.
right?
Or maybe he is.
Yeah. Rand sees Egwene and she gets taken away by the alien man with flaming eyes.
The Martian from Hell.
The Martian from Hell. Yeah, short dream. I wonder if the stream was longer originally and they shortened it just for editing time.
I think almost everything in this show was longer originally, and they shortened it for editing time.
It works better, I think, kind of just disjointed imagery. I think I don't want a dream to have like a strong narrative flow necessarily. I want it to just be like weird impressionistic images that happens when you actually dream. You wake up knowing what it meant usually, but there's no actual narrative cohesion to a dream. It just makes sense that you're sitting at a restaurant table with a giant squirrel that's the doctor or whatever. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's a Dr. Squirrel face.
That is cool. So Rand and Perrin are the only ones we get dream POVs from, right, in this first season?
Yeah, you see Egwene and Matt wake up, but you don't see their dreams.
Yeah. Okay. Rand gets 2, Perrin gets 1. Unless there's more
Yes.
dreams. Well, right now we're two
So
Rand,
far,
one
it's
Perrin.
Rain gets 2, Perrin gets 1.
Okay, I don't remember if there are any more dreams, but we'll keep a count on that. Oh, so one thing I noticed, right? This time around, I did a little pausing when when Rand and Tom go to look for Matt, and they go in the house and they see all the dead family. When they show Master Grinwell, it looks like there's something scrawled on the wall in blood.
Ooh.
It's nothing like in English language or whatever. It's just like scribbles, and it's like it's almost like somebody did it with like a knife, with blood on the knife, and like scribbles all over the walls. It didn't look like something that would have naturally happened. Let's put it that way.
All right.
Is it like another language, or is it just drawn?
I have no idea. It just looks like scribbles. But it didn't look natural to me, like the blood just splattered that way. It looked like it was done deliberately. That's just something I noticed. If you want to go back and watch that one quick shot, pause it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't notice this last time. I don't think I did. But the Fade comes out of the shadow, right? It's not like hiding up in the loft. It was actually in the shadow.
Really?
It jumped out of a shadow. Yeah, because it just kind of appears out of the wall almost.
Thought it was just like back in the shadows, but like
I don't think so.
so Matt
I
sees
do
it
think so.
inside a shadow.
You know what?
Just Brendan, in the books, Fades have the ability to kind of teleport from
Travel,
shadow to shadow.
Okay.
Travel
So
through
that, I
shadows.
think Joe's conjecturing this is not an in-your-face kind of thing, but this is an appearance of that ability.
So I know I'm right now because Rao agrees with me, but also if you go into the trivia, it talks about it in the trivia for that scene.
Yeah, I don't think they can teleport, like, just to be clear, and I don't know if it's ever explicitly said, I don't believe they can teleport, like, around the world. I think they can just kind of move between shadows.
Yeah,
could-
I always thought it was like
They have to
another
be
shadow they
connected.
can see.
I thought
Oh,
that would be connected.
Connected
Like they
to
can
what?
move through the shadow. They wouldn't be able to like cross over like light, so to speak.
Oh, I don't know.
Like they can obviously walk over light, but they can't do their like, I don't know, whatever traveling.
Right, because in the whatever we're gonna get, but in the Borderlands, right, like they light up all the cities with torches. Like they don't allow shadows in the streets, like in the books.
Yeah, and they
because-
also have to. You're not allowed in this with your hood up either in Valdara.
Yeah.
It's against the
So
laws.
okay, let's go with that. Let's go with he appears from the shadows. I like that.
And then Matt's line, I see you. Although he doesn't say it as cool as Bill
Yeah.
Duke says it.
Anything to
does.
quote Predator.
Yeah, and then Tom fights the Fade. The boys escape, and the doll falls, and we're all set.
I like how you see the Fade come across the room, like
Yes,
kind of flies a little bit, like
yes.
just straight across.
It catches
cool
Tom's
thing,
knife.
yeah.
Tom pulls out more knives.
So many
It
knives.
pans out with the knife stuck to the wall. One of Tom's knives stuck to the wall.
Maybe season 3 opens with like this fight, like the way you see Gandalf and the
Oh yeah.
Balrog
Yeah.
fighting, like a flashback. Like I want to see the rest of this fight.
They're
Maybe
not going to
like
fall very far.
when you
though.
see him, he's gonna tell the story, and you'll see the end of this. Hopefully,
You know what they could have done? I thought would have been cool is if like while they're fighting, they knock over a lantern and the barn catches on fire, and then you like as the boys are riding away, like the barn's burning.
You know what would have been cool if they had kept the camera on Tom and shown us the rest of the fight. Tom killed the Fade and the boys ran away, and then Tom got back on his horse and went in another direction and got
Shows
into new
just about
adventures.
Tom.
And then we just
with,
follow Tom for the rest of the season.
Got into new adventures with another couple of dopey kids.
I wonder what happened to those guys.
It's
And then,
just like-
and then like 5 seasons later, he runs into Matt and Rand again, and Matt's on like his 5th face, and Rand's got his cool Sgt. Pepper jacket.
I sense a new television show. Spin-off,
Have Tom will try.
prequel spin-off, The Adventures of Tom Maryland. I'd watch it.
That's all I'm saying.
I'd definitely watch it.
Yeah, I'll say this: the one thing I took note of in rewatching this episode is how much we talk about in the previous episode. Like Tom comes in and like kind of bumps the show up into like a different level, and he's not the only actor to do that in this series. I think other actors also do, but he's like the first one.
Yeah.
I think that really it's notable. He's very good, and the scene where he talks about Owen is very good, but I find this storyline really overall forgettable in this thing. Like a lot of the stuff I'm watching, like, oh yeah, that happens. And we've said it so far here. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. And oh yeah, that's here and that's here. And I feel like for whatever reason, their scenes, like their early scenes, don't really like leave an impact for some reason as much as the stuff in the prior episode. And obviously the stuff in the prior episode is more I don't know, you got Data there too, and maybe that's it. Like the Grinwells are like non-entities, but like yeah, I don't know. I just felt like for whatever reason, it doesn't land the same way as all the stuff in the prior episode does.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I get you. I get that. There's less of a story kind of going on. It's just more.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I still really like it, but it's yeah.
I think when you look back at the show and you think about how great Tom was, you think about Tom in episode 3.
Well said.
Well, yeah,
you don't
think
go,
about Tom in episode.
I'm so great. I love the steak knife story.
Well,
yeah,
I
well, yeah, don't bring up the steak.
I'm sorry. I didn't whatever.
Also,
it's a
like
line too.
Tom, they're talking about how Tom's gonna like play music for the family, and then you don't see it.
Yeah, why would we show like something entertaining?
I guess it wouldn't really have anything to do with like the plot, but he's like, "Oh, I have to rest," and then just cuts to later. And like,
they could have wrote.
We could have had a cut back to parent fixing a wheel and then saying it was no big deal.
Again,
pointing out that this whole part was not a big deal. He's
right.
talking about this part of the scene.
Anyone could have done it. Great. Why'd we watch you? Well, I back to the.
They could have cut that part and put Tom doing a song or juggling or something.
They're not going to create a second song. That. All right, you got one song. That's it.
He's a Cleveland.
We're saying not doing this again. People who
he's got to play a set.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about that.
I just meant Amazon was not going to write.
We're not paying 2 songwriters.
Yeah, that's
not happening.
Pay for
got a whole soundtrack. Just put lyrics to it.
Lauren Balfe could have juggled
soundtrack albums.
He could have did some juggling.
No, man.
Yeah, I tried to put the song on the Instagram story, and it's just like 6 different covers.
There's 6. Yeah, there's a bunch of covers, but there's no. To Tom's point about how like the stuff in episode 3 is like the memorable stuff about Tom. Broadly, for the most part, I agree. However, and I know we talked about this, and I know I used the same exact comparison last time. But when that fade shows up and Tom reacts like Han Solo in Empire, seeing Darth Vader, and immediately going for it,
mm-hmm.
Just like, oh, there he is, let me kill him. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
And
it's
so. Well, I think this is like my joke about how I wish that episode had just followed Tom, been a completely different show. Like this is the part where this starts turning back into Matt and Rand's story. Like Matt and Rand walked into Tom's story in episode 3, and they were in Tom's story for a while, and then they started gradually separating, and it became their story again, and inherently less interesting.
Yeah.
Which is not to say not interesting at all. This is not as interesting as anything Tom does.
Tom's dead. He gets killed by a fade. Figure. Tom doesn't have a story anymore.
Definitely dead.
He's dead. All right, and then moving to the third and final storyline that probably takes up the majority of the episode, going back to Moraine and Lan and Nynaeve and Logain and all the other new Aes Sedai we meet.
And the rest.
Yeah. And everybody else. So just start naming every single character who's there.
And Marianne.
There's
the Green Aes Sedai.
There, after Lan and Steppen are practicing there's a scene, I think, between Stepan and Karenna, and Stepan makes a comment about that he's heard rumors that the Reds are, roaming the countryside, gentling men. Do you think Lan told him that? Do you think that's just like, hey, he was just with Lan. Lan knows that that's happening. Lan told him?
Oh, maybe.
I never thought about it until this
Yeah,
time.
what else would he have heard? Picked up a rumor. Like they've been together this whole time.
Well, Moraine's heard a rumor
That's
about
true.
Fort Tavira.
No, I know.
So now we got another rumor.
No, but I'm saying like Stepan is like bringing up a rumor he heard to Karenna, who he spends literally every day and night with.
He's been spending all this time with her.
Yeah. All of a sudden, he's like, "Oh yeah, I heard this rumor."
He had a conversation with Lan. We saw that, and then all of a sudden, he's heard a rumor.
Maybe, yeah.
Makes sense.
Did Did you skip the part where they first go in to see Logain?
Oh no!
I don't think that part has happened yet in the.
No, yeah, it does because Karenna walks
I don't
away
remember
from the cave.
Yeah,
you're right.
I just like all through the episode, Lan's like, "Oh, we're gonna get to the tower as soon as possible." But they set up the cave as if they're gonna be there for a while.
yes.
Like there's like torches on pedestals, like lights on stands, and like the cage is all set up in this like elaborate. I don't know. It seems weird for a place they're only gonna stay in for one night.
To be honest, Jen, like, and this obviously is a fantasy world, but like even like back in I don't know, before Middle Ages, let's just say Roman times, when the armies camped, every night they set up like the whole entire tent.
That's crazy. Yeah, like Karenna's tent for like one night. You have to set that whole thing up. But
they have like servants who do that. That's their job. It's their job at night to like when they find camp and stop, they have to set up the camp.
Oh my God, that's annoying.
And they set everything up, and then in the morning they take it all back down every night while they're traveling.
It's like wrestling shows, circuses.
It's exactly like wrestling shows.
Set the whole thing up, take the whole thing down, do it every night. How annoying.
So I get that part, but yeah, you're right. It seems like they made like more a permanent resident. Like where's Logain when they're not by a cave?
Just like in the middle of the camp, just hanging out.
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying. The cage is on wheels. So
that's what I'm saying. He's just out in the open then, I guess, right? Or do they throw like
find a place to hide him?
Do they throw a blanket over the cage?
Hope he falls asleep like a parrot.
Yes.
His head under his arm.
There's
a big
blanket.
For my chickens back home.
I got Jen. I got her good.
We've lost radio contact with Jen. Everybody.
She's really going. You're getting me now going. Oh God.
Me that whole time? Oh my God.
Yeah, but where is Logain when they're not near a cave and they're traveling?
They have to find a place to hide him.
He's in a cage. He rides about 50 to 75 feet behind the lead rider. We know that from the end of episode 3. And then I guess like, do they only camp at caves so they can stick him in a cave every time? Like, what do they do?
It's a lot of
cave-free environment.
That's what I'm asking. That's
is
all
it
I'm
just
asking.
like, okay, everybody, there's no caves, we're just in the forest now, so we're all set up camp here. You go with Logain about 100 yards that way with 2 people. We'll all be over here. They have the same setup, cave or no cave, no matter where they camp.
Or did they just happen to
I'm starting to get genuinely worried about Jen.
She's still going.
I'm gonna laugh like this at everything now. I can't stop. I'm sorry.
Someone's got to do a Photoshop of looking.
We need somebody to say something not funny real quick. Tom, go.
Everything I do.
So
Jen, just think about the dead girl's doll. Yeah.
Think about the dead girl's doll. That'll make you really sad, apparently.
Yeah, the doll. It's the only thing that can break through.
No, I'm assuming, right, this just happened. They just happened to camp near a cave this time, and we're like, okay, let's put him in there for tonight, as opposed to sitting him out in the open or whatever. They're putting him in a tent. Maybe they have a tent that he stays in or something. Yeah, I didn't talk about it. You're right, Jen. I mentioned the shielding mechanics, which bothered me, so I skipped over it. A lot of exposition in that scene too about the shields and how shields work incorrectly. Uh, I know what I wanted to ask a question, right? We get the whole scene at the campfire with Nynaeve and Lan and all the warriors, and you learn a little bit more about the bond between Waters and Aes Sedai, and then, some of the Aes Sedai start collecting their men, and it's heavily implied that they're all going to fuck. Do you think Karenna and Stepan ever sleep together?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
ever?
they
Do you think it ever
they,
happened? Maybe they did, and then like they
No.
didn't work out, so they said, you know what, we got to stop doing this.
I don't think so.
No.
They give off the vibe of, and maybe this is just because I was hanging out with my coworkers all week. They give off the vibe of people who have worked together very closely for a long time and are by default good friends.
This is true. Everything you're saying is true. They have worked together for a very long time. So,
but that's it. Like, they don't. They give off the vibe of people. This is going to sound weird. Of people who are good friends but don't actually have a relationship to speak of.
I think they do. I mean, like, I don't know. I like when they make fun of Maureen and Lan.
They absolutely. I mean, they do. But I'm not saying that's how. I'm not saying that's what it is. That's just how they seem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Their relationship is completely built upon the fact that they work together all the time.
Right. And it's not that they're not friends, but
I kind of got a brother and sistery vibe from them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I forgot one thing I wanted to mention with the Matt and Rand and Tom storyline. They did it in this episode where Matt brings up, I think it's at the beginning, the 5. He's like, Dana said 5. He's like, who's the 5th one? He starts naming everybody, and then it cuts to Logain right after that. So we got another one. I think this is the second time they've done it now. Oh yeah. So one other thing too I wanted to bring up, and I feel like I might have brought this up in the first time we did this, when Maureen and Lan have their conversation in the tent, and she's like concerned that Logain could be the Dragon Reborn, and Lan said he's 10 years too old. Are we to believe that Alvaro Morte is only 30 years old?
I guess. I mean, like, split the difference between how old he's supposed to be and how old he is.
I mean, are we supposed to believe Logain is only 30?
I don't know. Maybe he's being general, like he's at least, but also he asks like, is he as strong as Egwene? And she's like, I don't know, but still at that point can't tell that Nynaeve can channel. Can't sense power in Nynaeve, but
she said
but from that one little thing, she could tell that Egwene is like so strong that she like brought it up to Lan.
Yeah, she doesn't. She says she doesn't think Logain's as strong as Egwene, which is
all right. Yeah,
which I don't think is true in the books.
No,
I think
Logain is almost as strong as Rand in the books.
Yeah, he's like
he's much stronger than Egwene.
He's even stronger than Nynaeve, I think, too. Technically. Yeah.
Well, she said I don't know. So
power level
doesn't really know yet.
Yeah. No, I agree. She says she doesn't think so, but that's a good point, Jen. I never thought about that. She can tell how strong Egwene is, but doesn't even know Nynaeve can channel. Or she might know Nynaeve can channel, and she doesn't want to say anything because she knows Nynaeve will probably, be very defensive about it. So she's like, I'm just gonna keep quiet and let her figure it out.
Yeah, I also wonder whether it's like the ways you can tell if someone can channel or feel their strength, like that doesn't seem to apply here in the series, at least not so far. So maybe like you need to see someone channel to find out, like to sense how strong they are, and she hasn't done that yet, so there's no like whatever. But because once you find out what Nynaeve can do at the end of this episode, everyone's like, oh damn. So like I am curious on that, like about how much of like okay, well, these things don't really necessarily make sense. Like you talk about the shielding, the power levels for characters, and if that is important later on, if that gets adjusted or whatever the case may be. How much of that is going to be chalked up to like, well, we didn't really exactly have it all set in the first season, and by season 2 or 3, like, don't worry, we're gonna like level it all out. I think like when you go back and you watch shows that had long runs, sometimes the stuff that like is standardized is not there in the first season about like different aspects of like the world building or whatever, and like it takes a little while for them to like figure out like, oh, okay, this is how we do things and this is how it's going to be, you know.
But they already have the
Yeah.
source material to create.
Yeah,
Right.
that was
for
what I was
this
going to
one.
say.
It's not like a brand new story.
Yeah, no, I understand. But I feel like that's, I don't know.
I mean,
Like, this is a
whatever.
really bad example of this, but it's on my mind because I just saw something about it earlier today.
Yeah.
Right, it's a bad example.
That doesn't bother me so much, like her to being able to gauge how much someone can channel. I don't know if it's because I don't think it's as important, or it's not really clear yet. Like they could always explain more about it, as opposed to the shielding, which is just, I don't know, it just bothers me. And then of course there's the other part of the shielding that bothers me even more, is if they didn't change it enough, and we're gonna have this debate again. But Steppen, clearly, that shield is also blocking Steppen's axes, and then Steppen's axes break the shield, or allow Logain to break through the shield. Which bothers me even more.
We just jumped way ahead. But
we did
sure.
jump way ahead, but we can go back. We can go back. No, nothing else happens.
I have like a
Go ahead, Brendan. What do you got?
No. I have a different issue with that whole scene. But sure, we can talk about the axis first. But I don't know what you're talking about with the shield being quote unquote wrong, because obviously I don't.
Yeah, so it's not going to bother you. And do you want me to explain it
Yeah,
or
right.
no?
No.
Okay, good.
I just want, like, you could stab someone when they're shielded.
It's not a physical shield.
Right. It's not a physical object.
It's not
so,
physical
like,
at
if you're
all.
shielded, I could just come up and kill you.
Yes.
Right. So it's just stupid. It's stupid all around.
Well, it's okay. So
Thank you, Jen. I agree 100%. Can we high five, Jen? No, the other. You gotta go to the side.
Okay.
Ready? One.
Guys are such fucking dorks.
3.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I thought we were done already.
No,
Go.
forget
Go.
it. It's
One.
over.
No.
The moment's passed. The moment is past. Let it go.
Okay, Tom. Sorry.
That's quality. So yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that the shield exists in the physical world somewhere, right? As well as being a spiritual connection, like shielding you from the source, the one power. I don't mind that. They're like, okay, look, like we're actually gonna throw a shield on you, and it's there somewhere, you know. But it shouldn't operate as a physical shield too. That's the part that like does bother me about it. I don't mind the fact that like, hey, I shielded you and there's like a bubble around you that's blocking you. I don't mind that actually, but like you shouldn't be able to. It shouldn't stop me from stabbing you, and it shouldn't be pierced if I do stab you. Those things I don't like.
Ooh,
I wasn't thrilled with.
Do you think Steppen's axes were power wrought?
No.
Okay.
And even if they were.
I don't know. I'm throwing something out there. Yeah, so this is these things really bother me in this episode and bring the episode down for me, the whole shielding mechanism. But I don't know. I know I skipped way ahead, so I don't know if there was anything that anyone wanted to talk about prior to that whole end scene.
All right, I might regret this, but I'm going to do it. Watching it this time, even though I gave Joe a real hard time about it the first time around, the question of how far the cave is from the camp actually really bothered me. And not because I think the cave was too far from the camp, but I have no idea how far the cave is from the camp. And it's just another, I feel like it's another example of the show not staging its action sequences in a way that is easy for the audience to follow. Like I talked 2 weeks ago about how confused characters good, confused audience bad.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another confused audience bad situation because they're running through that forest forever. And I know the first time we talked about it, like I actually kind of like that because it felt to me like everyone was confused and nobody really knew where they were going. But watching it again, it just seemed like they didn't know where they were going, and neither did I, even though I knew where they were going because I've seen it 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, that brings it down for me too.
I don't think like as a viewer that bothered me, or like as a viewer I would care how far away it is. It doesn't make sense that they set up the camp that way, like, and have him so far away, but the actual distance, like, of them traveling it didn't really matter to me, like that part of it. Like, it didn't matter how far away for the fight, for the action sequence. I wasn't like, oh, I'm confused. Where is this cave? I was just more of like, why would they set up camp so far away and keep him so far away in a cave?
Right. I think that's the thing. Like, I think you have a problem with the distance between the camp and the cave as something that happens in the story, and I have a problem with it now as a way the story is being told.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't think it's like, well, it is what I just said it is. So
yeah,
I'll say, like, we've made jokes. I think Joe's made jokes about like drawing a map of the campsite and the cave to kind of illustrate like the ridiculousness of the campsite design. And I think, to Brendan's point, I don't know if they actually did that on the show, like in preparing the set and like going, okay, logistically, this is the space. Right? It's just like, okay, look, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we're going to have this here and that's what it's going to look like. And they just were like, this is the area that we're in. Where do things look good to film this stuff? As opposed to kind of having a general sense of like, this is the area that we're in. We have to get from X to Y, and that's difficult because of this, whatever. It's just like, well, these woods are cool for this. And then there's rocks there. So we could do this camp stuff here because you can look down at the campsite. Whatever, and then the cave is somewhere where there's a cave, and so I think that I do think that that's what happened here. I don't necessarily think that there was a coherent map of like where the action was supposed to be, so that people who want to think like that could think like that. I think they were just like, it doesn't really matter, and so
right. I almost get the feeling watching it this time around, and this is going to sound meaner than I want it to, but it's the only way I can think to say it. It kind of seems like they wrote these episodes and never read the scripts again before they shot them.
I'm pretty sure that's not true.
I'm sure it's not true, but that's how it seems. It seems like they went out to the woods and were like, all right, let's do it.
So I think this is where what I will say is this, right? These are things that in the normal course of production, when you are doing your edits and your cuts of episodes, and you're going, oh, you know what we need here? We need a shot of someone explaining they got in between, like they broke the camp in half. We need to go around the woods or whatever to explain why they have to travel further than it makes sense for them, or something like that. They didn't really have, because of what COVID did to this production, the opportunity to go back and do all of the pickup shots that you would normally do in stuff like this, right? A lot of stuff like this happens when you're editing. You get a chance to go back and go, wait a second, like we don't have anything to make this make visual sense, right? That's what part of the editor's job is to kind of say like, this is what you've given me and it doesn't work, right? So we need something else. We need to put something here. They couldn't do that, right? They did get to do some reshoots, but not to the full extent, right? So there's a potential that there were things in here that, like you mentioned before, Brendan, they cut either for time or for other reasons or whatever the case may be. Or it could be like, hey, it made sense, but because the edits that we made, it doesn't make sense anymore. We don't have a way to fix that, I don't think the quality of people who worked on this in regards to like what their CVs are, their prior like experience in doing stuff, like it's not amateurish by any stretch of the imagination. These are like, they were really high quality on the directing, editing, like a lot of different like creative heads of things. So I don't think like this is like slipshod. I think this is like, well, we kind of have to, this is what we have to deal with. And we don't have the option to like go back and fix it. And really to the point where like Rafe has even said in interviews, by the time that like they were done, they were able to get 7 and 8 done. They were like, just get it out. Like we have to like put the show out. It's been delayed so long, and like we'll move on to season 2, and season 2 will be better. And like that.
That's kind of and that's sort of the what I was going to say. Like I understand that they had all these problems, but people I talked to who watched the first season who didn't listen to / appear on 200 episodes of a podcast about it, who didn't know about any of that, were just like, the show kind of doesn't make sense in a lot of ways, and yeah, like being aware of all that does temper my reaction, even though what I just said was really mean. But also, it makes me feel like season 2 has to be a lot better.
Yeah, when it comes out,
they lose the excuse, right? Like they lose that excuse, right?
Exactly.
And if stuff like this continues, like that's an indict of the show, right? And it doesn't like that's an excuse, but it doesn't mean like it's okay either, right?
Or it's a reason.
That's the reason. It doesn't mean like that's like
it's a reason, not an excuse.
You could see that like the way they had to put Miguel Alvarez in like after the fact.
Oh, I didn't.
They didn't even have him in that scene.
Yeah, right.
Like, how do you not have him in that scene? Like, you just like you just like never see him again. I feel like it's such a good thing having him there, and like they didn't think of that in the beginning. Like,
was it travel restrictions? There was travel restrictions, right, for COVID.
I don't know, but he filmed the whole thing like on a green screen by himself.
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
The King.
The King when he's
was not in the last battle scene. He was green screened into it.
Yeah, that's super obvious. You're right.
You can see it when you're looking at him. But
oh yeah, when he runs up and he like stops.
Yeah, he's like, for the dragon.
Yeah.
It's that you're right. You use the actor's name, which I didn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
which also sounds a lot like the actor for Logan.
I think it was travel
That's
restrictions.
Alvaro Morte. Miguel well, there's an Al in both of them.
Miguel Alvarez.
Miguel Alvarez.
Not the baseball.
Okay, it doesn't sound a lot like
Miguel
it.
Alvaro Morte.
Anyway. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, it's the whole end sequence is fun and it's exciting, I think. Brendan sighs.
That was an unrelated sigh.
I don't like the step in with the axe and the shield part.
What about the arrow part, which is really cool, but like nobody just like runs out of the way.
Yes.
They all stand there.
It's like they were all waiting, like they all knew
like
she was going. Because they're all just
but
standing
like you can
there
just run
watching.
Away.
None of the other Aes Sedai do anything.
Right.
It's like, did they have a conversation beforehand?
Yeah.
And Alana said, I'll take care of this. And the answer is yes, because it's a TV show. But it's they just like they've been working together for a while. This isn't like day one of them.
I know, but like
so they probably know. Okay, Alana does the arrow stuff.
They're waiting for her to do her move.
Yeah, but they all just stand there waiting. They all just stand there, don't even flinch or get scared. Like, what's their names are holding shields, and they don't even hold them up. They're just holding them like down by their stomachs, as if arrows aren't just flying towards them. But I wasn't going to bring that up, but I'm glad you brought it up, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's the only thing I thought. Like, why did they just like? She could have still done it, but like everybody else could have just like took one step to either side.
Or put your arm up in front of you, like you're somewhat scared.
I do like that he pushes Nynaeve behind him. That's like a nice
Lan
little
does
touch. It. Yeah, he could have pushed her out of the way.
Well,
there is a point in the interminable race to the cave where one of the King of Gildan's army is like grappling with Nynaeve, and Lan runs up and just slugs him.
Yeah.
And but it's just funny because he hits him with one hand while very clearly holding a sword in the other.
Yeah.
And like,
doesn't he punch him with the sword? Does he punch him with the sword in his hand?
No, I think he punches him with the way I remember it is he punches him with the other hand, but like you can you have a sword, Lan.
I thought the
You
same
have the
thing.
sword's your whole thing.
I thought maybe the only thing was because I thought the same thing. Why didn't he just kill him? But I guess maybe he was too close to Nynaeve, the guy, and he was worried that he was gonna
Maybe.
stab Nynaeve. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying like not enough people got stabbed in this episode for me, but
It's not enough stabbing.
it was just a weird because again, like Land's practicing with his sword and he's literally holding the sword when he punches the guy. It's
Too close.
Yeah.
And you know what, too? When the army does come and right the Karena's wards go off and she mentions that, you know, it doesn't look like the army ran away to their mothers or whatever. And Leandrin's like, well, there's no army can't stand up to 7 sisters. But that's not really a big army, and they're doing fairly okay.
I think the Sharks and the Jets had more guys.
Yeah. So she says that line, and it's like,
Yeah.
Individually.
7 sisters can easily take care of an entire army. Meanwhile, they're having a lot of trouble, and that's not an army. Come on.
But then they run away at the end.
Eventually, but it was like 7 sisters in an army. I'm thinking like thousands of soldiers. And there's like maybe 100 at most.
I think if there's 50, it's a lot. And I know I'm the one who brought this up, and it's one of those things. And Joe said it a few minutes ago about something else, and I'm almost positive I said it at the time or the first time we were talking about that. Like they only have so many actors.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Those actors probably were moved around a lot to make it look like more people in different scenes.
Like here, you guys switch jackets. And
yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. They get to the cave though, and again, we said, the Steppen, you know, cracks the shield or whatever, and Logain breaks free.
I'm sorry. Can we talk about the drama of Moraine walking in when like the other Aes Sedai are just like on the ground and she just like doesn't care. All she wants to do is like talk to Logain for 5 minutes.
She's like, oh.
Like, I don't know. I just feel like, does she know what just happened in there?
I think so. This is what I think, right? Because I thought the same thing. Like, why doesn't she check on them or whatever? I think Moraine knows that she's not powerful enough to handle Logain by herself, and the only way to go in there and, you know, possibly make it out alive is to go in there with, you know, with her guns out, like on the floor, you know, dropping her weapon, so to speak, and just talking to him.
Yeah, but like, does she know does she know that he just channeled and they're like on the ground? Or is she walking in there thinking he's shielded and she's going to like talk to him?
No, the cage is melted at that point.
But she before she comes in, like, what's her plan?
I don't know.
She came to talk to him.
Right, but if she walked in and then saw the situation, but nothing, like she just walks in as if she expected to see what she saw.
It's called Aes Sedai Calm, Jen. We get many examples of it in the books.
Okay.
That's all I can say. It's my
Okay.
answer. I'm sorry. It's not a good one.
I kind of had like a more almost a more meta reaction to that scene, because it really seemed like, and I know she wasn't, but the way that scene is staged and the way she walks in, as Jen said, like just to have a chat, seemingly, it almost seems like they're trying to imply like, hey, is Moraine behind what just happened?
Yeah, she staged the whole army coming
like,
so
did
she
Moraine
get time alone.
Yeah, or like did Moraine do something to distract the other two so that Logain could break the wards and she could get out, or the shield, or whatever thing they had on him. I mean, again, I know that isn't how it was, but it sort of seemed like they wanted the audience to think for a second, like, oh, hey, what's Moraine up to? Is Moraine breaking this guy out? Does Moraine think he's the dragon now? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Look at me. I am the dragon now.
They should have added that in there. That would have been a good line in there.
Speaking of which, something I don't remember the exact. I wish I'd written it down, but I just didn't. Logain says something about the other dragons talking to him,
Mm-hmm.
and he uses the plural. How many other dragons were there? Because from Jen is shaking her head. Okay. So it's not. So we don't know.
Well, the wheels.
Or is that just like a complete creation of the?
This is
The wheel of time
The
show.
turns infinitely, and there have been.
Were there other dragons who just weren't called that?
So that soul,
The Avatar.
yeah, that
Okay.
soul appears at the end of every age, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, not every age.
Also,
Not every age. Right? Is it? Is it at the end of every age?
the end of every age.
Okay.
The other,
Is that what makes
Yes.
it the end of an age?
Yes, it's
Okay.
it just different things happen.
I don't think, and this is a conversation for another time. I don't think the dragon's soul comes every age. I think every turning of the wheel, at least once. But I don't know if it's every age. But let's not have that conversation now.
Yeah, but also,
I had
there
asked a
have
question
been
that I'm not
multiple-
allowed to hear the answer to.
No, I think it's just like we don't want to get into a philosophical
Right.
conversation. But also, in this age, since the breaking, since Luz Theron, there have been a number of people who have proclaimed themselves to be the dragon and warrant.
Oh, okay.
There could be other
Got it.
dragons that he's talking to, and he doesn't know. First of all, is he talking to other dragons, or is he batshit crazy? Like, is another question.
Right.
Like, is he talking to people? Like, is he talking to Luz Theron in his head?
hmm
Or is he talking to Schmanky Bat Humpty Pants, who's telling him I was a dragon too? Like, and listen to me, right?
Yeah. They never
But-
answer that question.
I think
Okay.
that's a little bit intentional too, because answering it like tells you. Like, they don't want you to know; they want you to think about it.
Yeah.
But so it could be multiple things. I think it could be like
Well, I guess they do answer the question at the end of episode 7. So
it's true.
Well, yeah.
yeah. So that's the end of the episode. Now, we get a very dramatic
Good night,
scene
everybody.
where when Logain breaks the shield, everybody gets hit with I guess, what is it? Is it the shattered axes? I forget.
Yeah,
It's
Shattered
the piece. It's
axes.
blades. It's the piece of the blades.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shards of the axe hit everybody in the cave except for Nynaeve.
Ew.
Maureen gets like the haft of the axe right in her.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
And everybody's dying. Lan's throat's slit. He's bleeding out. Nynaeve starts getting an angry face on, and then does a mass heal. And I don't really want to talk about this, but
Can we talk about like when she heals Lan? Does all the blood go back into his body?
no, it should. Well, it shouldn't.
No.
So
No.
like basically he in book rules he would be dead anyway because literally 3/4 of his blood was out.
Yeah,
If
it
she-
wasn't that much
If
blood.
she healed the wound,
He lost
he
like
still
doesn't-
lost his blood.
he lost like a pint and a half, 2 pints of
I
blood
don't
at
know.
most.
He was bleeding for a while before she started healing him.
Okay, so Nynaeve's healing is not like the healing that appears in most of the books. In the first half of the books, especially, right? She heals in a different way. So
Which they totally made obsolete because nobody gets tired after they're healed, like in the books where they're exhausted and need to recover. Everyone gets healed in this. Well, that was one of the differences between the way Nynaeve
Right.
heals and everybody else does. So,
right.
Brendan's
But
like, shut up.
I would imagine that what she's doing here is not like healing their wounds. It's bringing everybody back to perfect health.
Yeah. Nynaeve doesn't heal the wounds in the way that like Karenna healed.
Yeah.
Karenna healed Moiraine's wounds, or Logain healed the king's. Like Nynaeve makes it so they didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't though. Just to be clear, that's not what happens.
No, but I understand that's not what she does.
Okay.
But that is the
Yeah.
effect that it has.
okay.
Right. She doesn't reverse time, but she literally like
Right.
there's no scars. There's
Yeah.
nothing. Like those people are in perfect health after she's
Their
done.
clothes actually are mended too,
Yeah.
and
All the
dry
blood
cleaned.
stains are
Dry
gone.
cleaned.
And they fit better. Weird.
When the bubble came out, it actually just blew all of the dirt and blood like out.
Yeah. That's the other thing I have about
That's
this
what
episode.
Locaine saw.
I don't know
that.
why.
The dirt
Like,
from the clothes.
just own that you messed it up. What did they say he was looking at? What was the excuse given?
Was it the force
was
of
it.
the...
That he saw the effects of what had happened.
It was just like a forced burst of effect because that was like part of Nynaeve's healing also.
What?
I'm sorry.
Like Nynaeve's healing
sorry.
also
You don't have to
produced
be
like, I
sorry.
guess, like a burst, a physical burst of energy.
So he covered his eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Come
all
on,
the
it was
bullshit.
a light, and
It
he
was-
shielded his eyes from the light. Just
Bullshit.
It was all the
admit-
dirt
All the
and
way
grime
down.
and blood from the clothes that Nynaeve
Just-
cleaned.
blame
Right,
it
the
on
grit
Amazon
got
and
in his
say they
eyes,
wanted
and that's
something
why he-
visual, and they made you do it.
Well, no, they could have had a
And
visual.
here's-
He just didn't have to say that line or react in that way. They could. That's what made it. That's what
No, he
made
could
the
have
scene
still
bad.
said like a. I think I would have been okay with the line because he saw the power,
Oh,
but
well, he
it
shouldn't-
was
he
the
can't see
shielding of the
power.
physical shielding of his eyes.
It was.
I mean, like, he saw
did
the
something
effect
that
of her
looked like
power,
a
that's what I
blazing
mean.
sun,
Right,
and
Like-
he said,
right. Like he saw,
He
he
saw she
saw
healed
what she
everyone.
did, and that much power was as the power of a sun as compared to him. But he literally saw the light and covered his eyes from the light,
Yeah,
which, like Maureen just said half an hour ago, that women can't see men's weaves. She didn't specify men can't see women's weaves, but
she did say it.
It was
she did
implied.
say that part. Maybe we're to assume that men can see women channel, but no. But then Sarah said no, that's not true, right? She came out and said that.
yeah, I don't.
They came out and basically said through somebody who
Yeah.
works on the show, just letting Brendan know. I don't know if we talked about this back then, but she came out
We
and
did.
said that he didn't see her weaves. Again, it was
Bullshit.
like the force or the, I don't know.
"This is
Here's the thing. I don't believe her.
I don't believe her either. I think they screwed up.
That is not it. That is not what happens in the show we just watched.
I know.
It's simply not.
And then we get that that
It is,
Nynaeve shot.
and it's like it's like I said in our Discord chat earlier. Like everything appeared like everyone's weaves are visible at the same time through that whole sequence, and through the sequence where Logain tries to break out the first time, and when Steppen runs in and sees everything that happened, all of the weaves are visible.
Mhm.
This idea that only some people see it sometimes and only the audience sees it sometimes, it makes no fucking sense at all.
I think
Doubly so because the fucking V in TV show stands for vision. It's a visual medium. Why would you do a thing? Why would you create this conceit within your television show of having the visual aspect of it only be when you feel like it?
Well, I will say this. Anytime, and I think this is correct. The only time you see somebody channeling is when there's somebody else who can channel is there.
They don't.
What are you
do
talking
a
about?
good-
The only time you
Don't
see
do
channeling is when there's two people who can channel, like somebody else, like not the person
What
who's
about-
channeling.
Right. So when Rand's channeling, you don't see it. in the
Any
room
other
with
time
Dana
there's
because
channeling,
Dana can't channel.
There's always somebody else who can channel around.
What about in the climactic
Except for Logain.
battle
Except for
scene?
Logain. Except for Logain. That's the one that breaks the mold. Logain's the
What
only.
about- what about-
Yeah.
What do you
What about
mean?
the climactic battle scene in the first episode where she's the only person
Egwene
for
and
hundreds
Nynaeve
of
can-
miles?
Egwene and
can
Nynaeve can
channel.
channel though. They just don't know it.
They're also in none of those shots.
They're
And
they're,
Nynaeve got
Nynaeve
driven
But
off
they're
by
there.
a
literally
bear.
in the
There
first
is.
shot that Maureen comes back. She kills the
No,
Trolloc
but,
that's
like,
about
the
to kill
scene-
them.
They're not
I
there.
cannot.
when-
Except the bath scene. That's the
they
bath
don't
scene.
do a good job.
You're right, and they're
It
not
is
consistent.
baffling.
They're not.
It is
They-
baffling to
100%
me that
consistent.
anyone could defend this. I'm sorry. Like
No, it's not
Well,
100% consistent. I will. Okay, I'll give you
It's
that.
not
but
consistent. They did not do a good job of it. There are ways that you can, I think, easily show if this is important to you as a conceit you want to have on the show because you feel like it is important to the plot later on that certain people can't see the weaves. Everyone can see the effects of channeling. So if I channel lightning, everyone can see the lightning bolt, even if you don't see me weave the clouds together or whatever, right? If you feel like that is important later on, that some people can see weaves and some people can't, there are ways to really, I think, easily show that on television, like showing like you do these kind of things. You do like a pan behind the character, right? And like this is what this character sees, and then like this is what everyone else sees. That sort of thing. They don't do that here, and they don't make it clear at all who can see them and who can't. That some people can see them and some people don't. Like it's not done.
Well, you know
clearly.
that that nobody can see Logain's weaves because it's said like Jen said. I think Maureen says it earlier in the episode.
Yeah, but when do you think that? Oh, they can't see his weaves, so we shouldn't see them. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that
we know that. No,
It's
I'm just
Joe
saying
saying?
that's one thing we know because they say.
So then
it
we
in the
should,
in the
right? We
show.
shouldn't see his weaves because nobody else there.
Yeah, I
should
mean,
be able
barring
to see
that
his weaves.
whole inconsistency, I agree.
Barring that whole huge part of the entire episode.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of those. That's the whole point of all the scenes that guy's in.
And then he's gentled, and the
don't worry about it anymore.
Ripped out of him.
Yeah, like even that part, they shouldn't be able to even see that.
No, there shouldn't. Well, that's not how. I mean, I'm getting into the.
I know, but I'm
they're
saying
they're not actually that. It's not actually pulling the power out of him.
just
That's
cutting
not what they do. They
it.
just cut his link to the power.
Right.
To draw the power. So, but I don't know. What are you going to do? Show a big cord?
Right. Big scissor.
Big scissors.
Like I don't mind that for the TV show. Like that's fine, whatever.
No, I agree. That didn't bother me that much. Yes. It's just like it's like the end of The Stand, where it's just like instead of a fist, it's a hand with the scissor, with the scissor, and it cuts off his.
Part of what bothers me about it is it like the way they design the effect looks really cool. Like it's a really well designed depiction of magic. Like the battle in the first episode, which is probably still from an action standpoint, at least the high point of the show, non-Tom Maryland division. But it looks, the effect they designed looks good, and it's distinctive, and it's not like, it's not like how in Game of Thrones when there were people who did magic, but you were never supposed to know that they were doing magic because you didn't really know if magic was real, or some people didn't believe magic was real. But like here's a setting where magic is objectively real, and a bunch of these people do it, and the whole point is that one of these characters can do it, and some of these characters can't, and we've got all this money, and we designed this really cool effect. And we're going to make it as fucking complicated as possible for people to understand.
Oh, they haven't even gotten to making it complicated.
When it works and how it works and why it works. And after this like really awesome ending to the episode with this really distinctive visual moment, we're going to go out of our way to go on the internet and say, no. You guys misinterpreted it. You guys got it wrong. That's not what happened. This girl who was surrounded by a circle of yellow light, and this guy looked at her and said, like a raging sun. That's not what he meant.
He didn't mean the actual.
Like what the like?
Oh,
he also meant like a raging child. He didn't even mean like the he mentioned an angry son.
Like I said, it's baffling to me,
and it blew her.
And I know you guys have put a lot of time and effort into this show, but it's baffling to me that anyone could defend it.
I will say the next season of the show, I'm pretty certain they're going to spend at least one, if not two episodes, a significant amount of time in those episodes, giving all the audience like this is how the power works, because the characters look to be actually just going to school, right? So there will be like training. Literal like a lesson where a teacher will come in and tell you, like, this is how it works now, and like we are like, and hopefully this will be the ground rules going forward about how we're going to be doing this on the show. So like, I do think whether it's, hey, this is what we wanted to do, whether there was a debate between the writer's room and the visual effects people and the director on set and whatever it was about like how to kind of best show and interpret like whatever it is, like, hey, like maybe the writer's room set up rules about like this is when you show it and this is when you don't, and the director said fuck that, like I'm gonna show it because it's cool,
right?
And I'm directing the goddamn show, and like, but like at a certain point, and I think that point is in season 2, they will literally be telling you the rules, and hopefully then they'll follow them, and then it'll at least it should be consistent for everybody. If they want to make changes, let them make those changes there, so that we can all deal with it. I can understand. I can understand somebody who controls the purse strings of the show going, hey, let's not show channeling as much as possible because that's probably costs a ton of money. But we'll see.
Yeah. Do you guys want to wrap it up here?
Sure.
I want to remind everyone to follow us on social media. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and
Whoa,
Facebook.
whoa. We got to do the star ratings.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Jeez,
Thank you.
I thought that's what you meant by wrap it up.
Yeah, you guys want to wrap it up here? Let's do our ratings. Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Nobody wants to go first. I will go first. I will go. I'm going to give this episode a 3.75.
I'll go. I was also going to give it a 3.75.
It was well done in the sense of being entertaining, and if I was a non-book reader, and even as a book reader, I found it entertaining, but there were just too many things in it that bothered me. And as obviously a book reader, some of the mechanics in it, but also there's a couple of things, obviously, Brendan, that you brought up that also bothered me a little bit. And as I'm watching the episode, when they appear, it annoys me. And then it kind of takes me out of the episode a little bit. So
I was curious about where we were going to go with this because I think we ripped this episode more than we've ripped any episode that we've done so far.
Yeah, we have.
I think I feel like this rewatch episode was just like a litany of like what we didn't like for the most part.
But I really enjoy watching the episode. Like it's a very watchable episode, and it keeps me interested.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go 3.5. So
Right.
I also like it.
Brendan.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3.25. I think the parts of this episode that are good they're very good. Like I really enjoy the Matt and Matt and Rand and Tom stuff. And there's a lot of stuff in the Aes Sedai and Logain part that's good, but like the stuff in it that's the stuff in it that I didn't like, and like the discourse I'm aware of from when it was originally out really, really drags it down. Like I don't care that everybody can see the weaves. I like seeing the weaves, but the stuff that all happened afterward and like the complicated all that stuff about it just really drags it down for me.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what's our average for this episode?
Our average for this episode is a 3.56, which is a pretty big drop from our first.
What's the highest? What's the order?
The order?
Yeah, the ranking so far, the episodes that the first 4 episodes.
On the rewatch?
Yeah.
Last week by a considerable margin.
That's number 1. What's number 2?
Episode 2.
So it's
Oh.
And what's number 3? Is it episode 1?
It goes 3, 2, 1. This episode 3, 2, 1, 4.
Oh wow! It's gonna be interesting the next couple episodes too.
I don't know how episodes 6 and 7 are making at it.
Did Jen, you and Tom have any spoiler stuff you wanted to talk about? Should we let Brendan go, or should we? Or you just want to wrap it up here?
What was I saying?
We've already been recording for almost 2 hours anyway.
I know. I can't remember what I
No.
wanted to say about whatever. If it
All
wasn't
right,
that-
let's wrap it up here. You can follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Join us over in Discord to continue the conversation there. We also post these episodes on YouTube, so go check that out and subscribe to our YouTube page. Rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out our merchandise and Patreon pages. Links to all the aforementioned information is included in the show notes to this episode. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Yeah.
Happy St. Patrick's
Watch
Day.
some basketball, eat some corned beef and cabbage, drink some Irish whiskey, and some Guinness.
I'm not going to do any of those things, Joe.
Good pancakes, Brendan.
Not a single one
Eat some pancakes, Brendan, like Tom said.
will do.
Some green.
Thanks, everyone, for listening, and you'll hear us next time.